Three allied nations, decades of partnership, one phone call that changes everything. Australia just made a move that has Washington scrambling. And if you think this is just diplomatic theater, look at your portfolio, look at the dollar. This decision will hit your wallet whether you're paying attention or not. I'm going to break down exactly what happened, why it matters, and what comes next. No speculation, just the facts the mainstream media is burying. Let's get into it. What actually happened this morning, Australia's Prime Minister announced that Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney will address the Australian Parliament next week. Sounds routine? It's not. This parliamentary address is an honor typically reserved for America's closest allies, usually the U.S. president. In fact, the last time Australia extended this invitation to a non-U.S. leader was over a decade ago. The timing is everything. This announcement comes during the most volatile trade period in recent history, with Trump threatening 10% universal tariffs on all imports, including from allies. Trump's strategy has been clear: isolate Canada, pressure them on trade, force concessions. He assumed Australia would stay neutral, or better yet, back Washington's position. Instead, Australia picked up the phone and called Ottawa. Let me show you why this isn't just politics as usual. AUKUS, the nuclear submarine pact between Australia, the UK, and the United States, is the cornerstone of Pacific defense strategy. Trump has repeatedly threatened to renegotiate unless Australia pays its fair share. Read Australia's official statement about Carney's visit. The word United States appears 0 times. Instead, they emphasize Commonwealth partnership and critical mineral cooperation. That's not an oversight, that's a message. Within hours of the announcement, the Australian dollar strengthened against the US dollar by 0.7%. Currency traders are voting with real money. Why? Because markets price in stability. Carney brings credibility. Former governor of both the Bank of Canada and Bank of England. Trump brings unpredictability. When investors choose Australian assets over American ones, that's not sentiment. That's risk assessment. 2 hours after the announcement, Trump posted on Truth Social calling the Australian PM weak and threatening to review all military cooperation. That's not the response of a leader in control. That's damage control disguised as strength. His diplomats spent the past week calling Canberra, asking them to delay, to wait, to not embarrass the president. Australia sent the invitation anyway. Why this coalition changes? Everything Canada and Australia together control: 40% of global uranium production, major lithium reserves for EV batteries, significant rare earth minerals, potash for global food supply. These aren't luxuries. These are the building blocks of the 21st century economy. While Trump fights yesterday's trade war with tariffs on steel, Carney is building tomorrow's resource alliance. Here's what the White House fears. If Canada and Australia formalize trade frameworks that bypass U.S. approval, other middle powers follow: the UK, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea. Suddenly, America isn't the hub of global trade. It's just another player at the table. And when that happens, American leverage, economic, diplomatic, military, diminishes. Mark Carney isn't fighting Trump on Twitter. He's not giving inflammatory speeches. He's doing something far more effective. He's building systems. While Trump demands loyalty, Carney offers value. While Trump breaks agreements, Carney structures long-term partnerships. While Trump creates uncertainty, Carney provides stability. This parliamentary address isn't ceremonial. It's a working session. They're designing trade architecture, resource agreements, and financial frameworks. The goal? Create an economic network stable enough to weather American volatility. You don't beat Trump by matching his energy. You render him irrelevant by building around him. What happens next? Scenario 1, retaliation. Trump announces tariffs on Australian wine, beef, or minerals. It backfires. Australia moves closer to Canada. More countries take notice. Scenario 2, the domino effect. The UK invites Carney next, then New Zealand. The Commonwealth creates an economic bloc that doesn't require U.S. approval. Washington loses influence across an entire alliance network. Scenario 3, nuclear option. Trump weaponizes intelligence sharing or military cooperation. The Five Eyes alliance fractures. America loses critical intelligence capabilities in the Pacific just as China expands. Any of these paths end the same way. American influence contracts. What this means for you. If you're holding US assets, you need to understand what's happening. When allied nations start building economic frameworks that exclude American input, the dollar's reserve status gets questioned. When supply chains for critical materials reorganize away from US markets, prices rise domestically. When trust in American leadership erodes, so does American leverage. This isn't about taking sides. This is about reading the signals the markets are already responding to. Australia didn't break ranks on a whim. They calculated that the risk of angering Trump is less than the risk of depending on him. That calculation should concern every American investor, every business owner, every citizen who benefits from the stability the U.S. has provided for 80 years. There's a photograph from this morning. Trump at a rally in Ohio, red-faced, shouting about traitors, and Mark Carney in a quiet office in Ottawa signing agreements. One is noise, one is action. The question isn't whether America can afford to lose allies like Australia. The question is whether America already has. What do you think? Is Australia making the right move? Or is this a betrayal of a decades-long alliance? Drop your take in the comments. I read everyone. And if you want to stay ahead of how this plays out, because the mainstream media won't tell you until it's too late, subscribe now. This story is just beginning.